with landscaping, there's a couple of different ways that you can add value, or we'll look at it two different ways. One of them is to update existing curb appeal. Like that's the easiest way.
Mm-hmm.
But the second one, and this is one that we'll focus more on, is actually creating outdoor living spaces rather than just, oh, I have a yard, but I don't do anything with it.
Yeah. I think there's you know this better than anybody, but I think there's a huge movement with home buyers now looking for these outdoor spaces. These are a huge value add for a lot of buyers out there. People, it just people's needs change. And it used to be, okay, I want a huge lot, and although there's probably still some need for that, there's more of a movement I'm seeing towards people really looking for these cool outdoor spaces.
Yeah, and there's some very cool things that you can do.
Yeah.
And basically it's your property, so make the best use of it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So we'll briefly touch on the curb appeal part, because I'm sure you guys know, bringing clients to a house,
mm-hmm.
how it looks from the very first time they see it. It's a first impression.
Totally.
And I'd definitely like your guys' feedback too. Like, what is it like bringing a client to a house? Like, what are the first things that they notice?
The curb appeal is huge, right? Especially in summertime. People are coming in, and what I typically say to my sellers is we really want to, there's a whole sales process, but our job is to get it looking great online, and then your job is to help maintain it looking good as you walk up to that door. Because within about 15 seconds of them being in the home, there's a pretty good chance that they'll be, I would say, like 90% there on their decision one way or the other.
Yeah.
So that's where the curb appeal really comes in.
Yeah.
But then sellers are like, okay, well, what do I do for curb appeal?
Yeah.
And then oftentimes that's where I'm like, I don't know, plants, flowers.
Well, and I think it speaks to, like, if the yard is not well kept, it sets that tone, and then you start questioning other aspects of the property too.
That's a good point. Big time.
So here's a few easy ways to step up that curb appeal, spruce it up. Make sure it's well maintained,
Yeah.
of course, what you were just saying.
Yeah.
Pruning trees and shrubs. If things are overgrown, they haven't been maintained for years.
They look like disasters, yeah.
At least I noticed that right away.
I think most people do, yeah.
Yeah.
Planting new flowers, that's a great way.
Go Mike.
Laying new sod. It's not that much to rip out old sod and lay new stuff if it looks horrible.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have an approximate cost on that?
Yeah, well,
Okay.
and then another easy one is installing mulch into flower beds. I'm sure you guys see that quite a bit. People just dump mulch in.
Yep. Cover up all the weeds.
Well, it
Yeah.
freshens it up, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it makes it look good for a bit, but
It makes it smell nice.
yeah.
Yeah, they have like the cedar.
The cedar smells so good.
Yeah.
An expected budget, roughly $5,000 you can spend easily just to spruce up a place.
Big time.
Awesome. So that's to hit those 5 points there. Depending on the size and everything.
Yeah, depending on the size. Like that's kind of a ballpark what you can spend. Like anywhere, $7,500.
Mm-hmm.
Like, of course, it all depends on the project.
Yeah.
But usually, any job that we do that's more of a sprucing it up is in around the $5,000 range.
Okay.
Like it's
Yeah.
kind of the quick in and out projects.
And what's quick? So how quickly could something like this be done?
2 days.
Okay.
Yeah, like it's like quick in and out.
Okay.
Done. So here's an example of poor curb appeal.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can tell that it has not been maintained. The walkway hasn't been maintained. Grass is long. It just doesn't look good.
Yep.
Here are some examples. Like this is a house that we did a couple of years ago. It's artificial turf, easy beds in the front, some aggregate rock on the sides. Extremely low maintenance, but the curb appeal is there. Like
Big
you
time.
walk up to that.
Mm-hmm. I wonder how artificial turf is going to, how it affects resale.
Yeah.
It is quite an investment, is it not?
It is. It's like
What would this cost? Give or take.
This to do the front and the back. The back was very small. I think it was close to 20,000.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
So it's a big investment. And are you getting a lot more people coming to you asking for AstroTurf? Is it becoming more popular?
It is popular. It's definitely popular, but people don't understand the cost for it.
Sure.
$11 a square foot is kind of very low. So anywhere from $11 to $18 a square foot is what we've charged. It depends on access because you have to excavate the whole property. You have to do a proper base for it.
Yeah.
It's basically the same base as you would for paving stones or any kind of other hardscaping. So it is a bit of a process. And then if you're doing seams, that takes a lot of time.
Snows a couple of times, but years go by, do you have to replace it, or is it just...
No, you do have to. There's the silica sand that you put on top of it, provides weight and helps keep it up. And so that you have to maintain that, add a bit more sand every year or 2 years. Rather than that, just kind of wash it off because it will get dusty and dirty.
Yeah.
How long is it expected to last?
I think their warranties are 10 plus years.
Okay.
So a good amount of time. Like
Yeah.
the quality of artificial turf has really gone up the past couple of years.
Oh, it's insane. It used to be that bright neon green
Yeah.
stuff, and now you go to like a showroom like Burncoat and you see a lot of these weaves that are more natural looking.
Yeah. There's kind of two main suppliers in Calgary. There's Bellaturf and there's Rymar. Bellaturf's looks a little bit more natural than Rymar's, but they're still very equal in quality.
Cool.
And so here's another one too that we did this past year where the curb appeal, you drive up this long driveway. And so we'll get into a bit more of the landscape behind that one later on. This is one that we did a couple of years ago. We basically just redid the flower bed. It was basically, there was weeds and like the plants that were in there were horrible. So we just kind of ripped it out, put new plants in, put the aggregate rock in. I think that project was around 5,000, but it totally helped spruce it right up. And then here's one of maintenance, like a well-maintained yard. It adds a lot to it when you get those nice lines and
Flush carpet, or
Yeah.
like flush carpet grass kind of,
Yeah, that's a good look.
How are those lines made? I've always been curious.
it's just the mower.
Is it? Like,
Yeah.
Go one way then.
It has a thing on the back, so it
Yeah.
kind of presses the grass in both directions.
You gotta have straight lines. You can't be like drinking a beer and going all over the
I
map.
always wanted
That's
to...
Mike's line.
Yeah.
And so now we'll get to the actual outdoor living spaces, because it is an extension of your home to the outside, and especially like outdoor living rooms, outdoor kitchens. There's so many different ways that you can go about it, and it is an investment, and so you are looking at much bigger dollars than just throwing 5,000 down and spruce something up. And it's making the best use of the space. And one of the big things is that you always want to create property value. And so that's one of the key things that we focus on, is where we try and add value to it, not just, there's clients who want absolutely ridiculous things if it's their kind of forever home, which they know that they're never going to get their money out of. But usually when I meet with clients, it's, okay, how do we maximize the value that you're getting out of it so that you're not wasting money but making the best use of it?
So are they directly asking you, hey, is this gonna have a return if I was to sell it?
They don't. That's more of an aspect that I bring with it when I'm explaining what we should be doing.
Sure.
And if they're saying, oh, we want to do this here, like if they want to do like a paving stone sidewalk down the side of their house that they use once or twice a year, that's a big expense, as opposed to taking that same money and investing it somewhere where people will really notice it.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure that one of the things you guys notice is when people look at houses, there's one or two things that they'll take from each house that's unique about it. That is then the draw as, oh, they'll mention a house that they saw previously based on something unique that was about it, right?
Yep.
Does that happen quite a bit?
For sure. If I could just take this and put it on this house, I hear it all the time. It's a tough one to deal with.
So, investing in your landscape, expected budget, like very minimum 10,000. Like you can't do much for 10, but it is unlimited then too. I have friends who are just they have a landscape company and they were doing a residential job in Red Deer. That was about 1.5 million is what they were spending on their landscape.
It's insane how much it can go up. Yeah.
Would you say there's a kind of general rule of thumb that you'd want to spend 10% of the house value? Oh.
Look at that. Look at that. Ahead of the game.
Usually anywhere 6 to 10%. You can even get up to 12%, but then that's where any more than that, and you're going to have a hard time ever getting that out. And that's where it's developing that value as opposed to just going in and doing whatever.
Yeah. That's a good number to know. That's really good.
Yeah.
The biggest thing, it's imperative to have a proper design. Planning is everything. Because a good design will have good flow. Say for instance, even this workspace, it's been designed well. It has a flow that goes throughout the whole building. It doesn't feel like it's just pieces all put together. Because it's been designed in that way. And in the same way, landscape should have a flow to it. Where, again, if you look at stuff that is usually DIY, you can tell that it's just pieces. Oh, we wanted a patio here, so we put a patio here. Oh, we want this here. Like it's just, it becomes a mess.
Yeah.
And that's why, without anything else, a design should be the biggest thing to invest money into at the beginning.
Well, I think professional designs usually take into account kind of future proofing.
Yeah.
So knowing how big those plants are going to get so they won't overcrowd or anything like that too.
And that's one thing that is always our challenge, because when you plant stuff, it looks so small, but we know what it will look like 5 years from now. Where the client's like, that's not very much.
Yeah, that's true. And then what goes into a design? You, I'm guessing, have a consult with the client.
Yeah, there's a few, like I work with a designer as well, who does a lot of our design work for me, because it could be a full-time job just to do designs.
Specialized work, yeah.
And so most of the stuff is through the designer that I work with.
Yeah.
I do some design work where it's more unique projects, and I'll show you some examples of that later where I've done the design myself. I absolutely love doing the design, but it is very time consuming, but it does allow me that creative chance to be innovative and do something that other people don't have.
Right. Yeah.
So for me, it's a hard balance between the two.
Yeah. Yeah.
And a design, it also will give you the blueprint. And I've had clients where we come up with an overall design, and it's been broken into like 5 different years, where we've done different sections of the yard over many years, because it's been a large project. And so then it's possible to do it that way. But if you don't have that initial design, then you end up with a bunch of pieces.
I think that's super important. I've had many friends that have done it in that way, where they buy the new house, and sometimes you can't afford to drop the 75 grand to do a full landscape. So you get the design done it the first year, and then you build the deck, and then you do the beds over here, and then the garden and things like that, and it still meshes quite nice together.
Yeah, it definitely does. So important aspects to consider, like these are questions that I will ask a client kind of right away. Is how much maintenance do you want to spend? Like how much time do you want to spend? Do you want to hire that out? It makes a big difference on then any kind of design plan, how you'd even move forward in it. What do you want to use the space for? Do you need space for kids to play in? Or is it for, you like hosting a lot of parties? If you're like hosting a lot of parties, an outdoor kitchen might be something to consider, or outdoor living rooms, fire pits. Who knows where fire pits will be a few years from now as far as the bylaws behind them, but
What are your thoughts on that?
I think that eventually they'll be banned
Yeah,
just because of the smoke issues.
yeah,
I'm guessing the city gets lots of complaints about smoke.
yeah.
I've had clients who've already, like when we've constructed, we'll run a gas line to where the fire pit is, so that if it ever becomes where we can't burn wood, then you can easily switch it out to just a gas fire pit.
Yeah.
I have a gas one, and it's phenomenal. We use it several times a week. Just
Yeah.
fire it up, and yeah, it's great.
You have the little fire table thing?
Yeah, we ran a gas line. I have a big 20 by 20 deck. I'm in a smaller infill in Killarney, and I didn't want a yard. I just wanted an entertaining space. We did the
Yeah.
outdoor living room and ran a gas line under the deck and have a rectangular fire table. It's
Yeah.
phenomenal.
Yeah. So I do think that that's more the way it will end up going.
Yeah, you don't stink. It's awesome.
Yeah, that's true. We have one too, we use it all the time.
Yeah.
Very important to start with the bones of the project. If you ever want irrigation, at the beginning is the time to decide that. Also lighting, to run wiring. I went and did a consult this past year at this acreage southeast of Calgary, where last year they just wanted to get started on the project. So they laid down paving stone, they did a fair bit. And then they wanted to talk to me about irrigation after the fact that they'd already started. I'm like, yeah, you have to then rip it up. And they weren't willing to do that. But it was just, they wanted to get going on it so badly that then they ended up making mistakes by not doing it in the proper order. And so it's important to decide on irrigation and lighting. Even lighting, if you run the wiring, it's not much to run wiring, but at least then it's there. And so if you're having to run it under patios or whatever, do it at the initial stages.
Some conduit, and yeah.
Yeah. This is a huge one. Assess any drainage issues. There's a lot of those in Calgary, especially older communities. And
Do you have any communities in particular that come to mind?
Bowness. There's houses in Bowness where the grade is it slopes from the street towards the house, so all that water is going towards the house. And find a reputable landscape company. I know one of them, and a designer. So you get what you pay for. One thing with the landscape industry is there's no borders to entry, and that's how I even got into it. Is all I had to do is go and buy a lawnmower and a weed whacker, and away I went. And so there's a lot of companies out there who get into it but don't understand everything behind it, and it's something to watch out for, definitely. And to do the homework, get references,
Look at past projects. And
put up, and also even ask about past failures. Because if a company isn't willing to tell you about those and how they handled it,
yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point.
we've definitely had failures.
Yeah, everyone has.
Yeah.
I mean, we're in the real estate industry, we get it.
And so it's important how companies deal with failures. And so the goals for a landscape project is create an area that you love and also add value to the home. And if you've done both of those, then it's a successful project. And so now we'll look at some projects that we've done that fit into this. So this is actually one that we did over a few years. And so there's a nice fire pit area. And so we have the same theme with the same type of pavers going throughout the whole project. This one's out in Chestermere.
Cool.
So it's basically they had this massive hill in the backyard. And so we made this stream that comes down. And so we cantilevered the deck over top of it,
That's cool.
and then the water flows into the bottom, goes all the way to the top. And you can see on this one, that there's a walking path and it goes all the way to the top. So it's kind of like a hiking trail. This is some lighting stuff that we did. This one's an acreage in Silverhorn. It's a fairly new community. But the lighting really helps accent.
Yeah, it's drama, yeah.
And the innovation behind lighting too now with LEDs is you can do a lot with the different tones. And for lighting, usually you're around $300 per light installed.
Okay.
And one of the ways to look at lighting is when you're designing lighting, you actually want to look at it from the inside of the house. And so your windows at nighttime, especially here, this is an acreage community, usually you just look out and it's black. So you basically have a black wall that's your window. But when you accent something that's further in the distance with a light, that window then becomes more of a picture frame for what you have outside. And it also makes your indoor space feel a lot bigger because all of a sudden your depth perception goes all the way to the back of your property. And so it can make a massive difference. This is a project that I designed. And so basically their goal was an outdoor dining space. And so it's this, we've since then also, since this picture was taken, we've also finished the deck in composite decking. But
Can you explain composite decking?
it's, there's a lot of different brands, Trex, TimberTech. Basically, it's very low maintenance. There's challenges that come with it as far as what you can do with it. You never have to stain it.
Yeah.
Again, there it's a lot more expensive. It's the artificial turf. It's a lot more expensive than sod. Like to lay sod down, you're at like $1.25 a square foot, whereas artificial turf, you're $11 to $18
It's a
a
big
square
difference,
foot.
yeah.
And so it's very similar then with the composite decking is the price. Like a 16-foot board, you're looking at spending $70, $80 per board.
Oh, wow.
So,
Jeez.
whereas you get a piece of cedar, even cedar, it's $15. And so it's a definite increase in price. And so here we created then a spot for the barbecue. Because most people, you want the barbecue in a spot where kids have no reason to be running around you. And so designate a specific area where your actual barbecue is going to be. And lots of people don't ever do that. They kind of stick it in the far corner behind the table. And so when you're going out to your barbecue, you have to go around the table to the barbecue. And that's where planning then is a huge part of it.
We're right up against their vinyl siding of their home.
Oh, yeah.
I love that one.
Yeah, they do as well. And so then we build this pergola, and we put the planter boxes here, so you can plant your herbs, take them straight from there, and put them then on the table when you're eating. This one is out in Cochrane. There they wanted a sitting area, like a main patio part, then a spot for their hot tub, and some flower beds. We did irrigation and lighting at this one too.
Is that in Glen Eagles?
Yeah, just overlooks the golf course there. That one was very time consuming because when you're dealing with all the different levels and there's just a lot that goes into it. But again, there we started with what are they looking for, what are they wanting to use the space for. Before it was just grass with like these lilacs growing in the middle of the yard, basically.
Can you give us an idea of a cost for a project like this?
Well, for this, it would be around 45 is what it was.
Okay.
This is actually, it's not quite finished yet, as we're missing the end caps. Those are still on order, doing natural stone. But this is one that I specifically designed myself. And so it's in the front yard of a house. And all it is a bench. They wanted a bench
It's cool.
that looked a bit different. And so that's all from one piece of cedar.
Wow.
We cut it up. And so if you look even on the bottom one there, it looks like the green just continually
continuous,
goes.
yeah.
And so it was definitely a challenge making something look curved out of straight product.
Totally.
And so this bench alone cost them about $8,000 or so.
Like the piece of wood?
No,
The whole deal.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And so this is back at the other house that we did earlier this year. And this is reason, so it's basically a dry creek bed. And then we put this new product, it just came out this past year, called sedum turf. And so it's all these small sedum plants that grow to about 10 centimeters high throughout the year. Different ones will flower at different times, so you get different colors throughout the year. And basically, you can just plant it on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
It's very low maintenance, doesn't need much water. It's all native plants, so that they're very hardy. But it creates a nice bed without it just being grass. Because otherwise it would have been most likely grass. So then you're having to cut it. But this stuff you just cut down, then at the end of the season, it'll grow back next year. And just the variance in color,
That's cool. And you said it just came out?
it came out this year.
Interesting.
This past, or 2 years ago. And it's people, even this client, everybody who goes there just asks about it.
And what's it called again?
Sedum turf?
Sedum turf.
Yeah.
Okay.
And to install that, you're around $12 a square foot.
Okay.
That's,
I have a question.
yeah.
Can you install that anywhere, or are there times when it's better or worse, like in terms of sunlight? Like, are there any considerations as to when it's a good fit to put that in?
That one I guess because it is a new product, it's still going to be a bit of trial and error to find out exactly where it will grow the best. It is hardy, so it can grow pretty much anywhere. This one here, it's partly in the shade, partly in the sun, so we'll be able to get a good gauge of exactly how well it does. But
Do you water it?
initially you have to water it quite a bit, like just as you would like if you're planting sod. But after that, it's pretty drought tolerant. It's basically what they use, even downtown Calgary, there's a lot of high rises now where they have the living roofs. And there's, I forget what cities there are in the States where now if you're building, you have to put a living roof on it. And so it's basically the same product that they use there, but they created an application where you can then just plant it on the ground instead.
Cool.
And so it's going to be a very popular thing within the next couple of years. So that kind of just shows you some of our projects. And there's a lot of innovative stuff out there. Another big thing that's coming up is doing rain gardens. And so it's basically gardens, like you design it in a way where your rainwater then isn't ending up in the sewers. It's getting caught up in these rain gardens. And so it's basically you indent the ground, put in a lot of, they have this all figured out exactly how much garden mix you need to have in there, that it absorbs the water. And there's actually a government funded program for this.
Really?
That is subsidizing some of the.
And so is it I'm envisioning like a pond or something, but it's underground and it just captures all the water?
It's not underground, it's ground. So it's like, it's a pond, but it's full of plants. And it's dry normally, except for when it rains, and the rainwater collects in that.
From all around.
It's usually where your downspouts are coming down.
Gotcha.
Your downspouts will then drain into these. The city is planning to do, I think, about 10 of them this upcoming year at their different community centers.
Cool, man.
And it's all to try and, again, environmentally friendly, prevent water from ending up in the storm drains, because then that has to be treated. And
Yeah. What do you see coming up? You mentioned a few things. Say in like 5 years' time, what do you expect our yards are going to look like at that point in time?
I think the rain gardens will become very popular. because people will want to do more to help the environment. The sedum turf, I think, will become very popular because it is so low maintenance.
So low maintenance and environmentally friendly are two big things.
Yeah, low maintenance, and the sedum turf is both
Yeah.
because you have tons of flowers, and bees absolutely love that stuff too.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
And so I wouldn't plant it right next to where you're going to be dining necessarily.
Yeah. Put it right by the kids' play place.
But especially a lot of infills in Calgary, like the front yards are so small, you're never going to use it for playing on.
True.
And a lot of people think low or no maintenance. They just put a bunch of rocks in their front yard,
Yeah.
and that looks horrible.
Yeah.
Whereas the sedum turf gives you that option of something that's very low maintenance, where you're not having to go out there and cut it every week, but it's just not a pile of rocks either.
Interesting.
And so that's where then the design too, like if you incorporate that with rocks and
The first one is something that comes up a lot that I think is really the affecting retail. People with dogs, when they have yards, dog spots, right? The dog peeing on the yard.
yeah.
Is there anything you can do to prevent that, or is it just an ongoing battle people face?
It's an ongoing battle. Like there's
There's
just
not
not.
like any products you can put on there to neutralize or anything like that, I've heard of things like that. Do they work?
I've had one client who gets out there with a hose every time their dog goes out and dilutes it that way. But yeah, there's not too much that you can do.
Okay.
That's where lots of dog owners are going towards artificial turf, and there's actually there's ones that are geared more towards pets that are then easier to clean up, and you use zeofill instead of silica, where it's more of a deodorizer too. And so there's options that way, and that's why a lot of people go towards artificial turf.
Okay. Okay, that makes sense. And then if I have time for one more quick question.
Yeah.
This is a question that we get often from, let's say, sellers that are looking to put their place in the market. Because I think a lot of the nice landscaping that, if you want to spend a little bit more, it's usually for buyers moving into a new place, right? And then they're willing to spend a little bit more because they're going to live there. Now, what if a seller's looking to sell and let's say their budget is $1,000? There's $1,000 to spend on landscaping to spruce it up. What would you do? Like, what would you focus on? What would you advise them to do?
Make sure all the trees and shrubs are pruned, I would say, and then there's no real quick fixes. Like even fertilizing definitely helps. Just make it look like it's been well maintained.
Potted flowers or something.
Potted flowers, yeah. Mulch does help
Yeah.
out a lot, but just don't throw it over top of weeds. I've seen that where people they don't do anything underneath. Like you still have to dig it out and get rid of the weeds before you do the mulch, but mulch is a very effective way to really spruce up a place.